Ah, love, 'tis a beautiful thing. As a bit of a hopeless romantic, relationships in media, when done well, are usually some of my favorite parts of any show, and total drama is no different. Whether it's toxic and riveting, or wholesome and comforting, they are always just such a treat. So, since love is in the air, I figure I might as well talk about some of my favorite ships in each season. And since I like to balance stuff out, I'll also talk about the worst ships in each season. For the best ships, everything's on the table, canon and fanon. But for the worst ships, I'll have to limit it to just canon, because I don't want to shit on something that's not even in the actual show. In case you're wondering what that includes, here you go. I try to avoid throwing in ships that are just small crushes, dubiously canon, or gags. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's go. My favorite island ship was probably the easiest pick. There is no ship that hits as hard as Island Dunkney. Their buildup is only rivaled by one other ship, and trust me, we'll get to them. Enemies to lovers is the second best romantic trope, and you know what the best one is? Opposites attract. Dunkney is the kind of ship that was created specifically in a lab for me to fall in love with, to the point that I'm pretty sure it shaped what I look for in ships. I doubt there will ever be a ship that I love as much as Island Dunkney. It is just peak. What else is there to say? When it comes to the worst island ship, I'm gonna piss someone off no matter what. So instead of holding my tongue, I'm gonna pop off on the most overhyped ship in the series. That's what legendary ships do. Gidget started off awkward as hell, but they did that. That's what legendary players do. La Herald, legendary. Barely a couple minutes of screen time. They break up in the special, and they still have one of the most iconic kisses in the franchise. Gwent lasted the entire season, went into action, and only had one good episode. They didn't put up no buckets. Stop calling that ship legendary because they played with Dunkney, the greatest ship ever. Lashana, a top 3 wingman ever. Stop calling it that, because when Merge came around, they got smoked out by Heather. When they had the most screen time, they still had no chemistry. When they had the numbers to eliminate her, they blew a 5-3, 4-3 lead. They choked. Stop doing that. Legendary, Dunkney, Gidget, La Herald, even fucking Ozzy. Lilar as a rookie, first couple, first kiss, least episode, still more chemistry. These are legendary. No-Go is more legendary than Gwent. That's what we talking about right now. Stop talking about Gwent like they're the shit. They are not the shit. Half of this ship has no personality. They're garbage when it matters. They're garbage. I need people to realize how ass Gwent is when you're not blinded by nostalgia. Please rewatch the season. After episode 3, they got nothing. And even when people do hate on Gwent, they're always like, yeah, it was Ash's worst ship, but at least Island was pretty good. It's not. It never was. It was boring. Their conflict would be brought back up episodes later, even when it seems like it's already been resolved. I sure hope I won't have to talk about them again. God damn it. Alright, repeat what I said up there, because they are still the worst ship here, so I'm just not gonna talk about it. As for the best ship, it's a much harder choice, because all of these are really mid. Gidget is just watered down. Ozzy and Beth 80 have barely anything. And Lilar is only here because they don't break up. The only real canon contender was Dunkney, but even then, it is barely the same ship anymore. And hey, I like Toxic Dunkney. I don't mind it at all, but there's not enough where it's campy fun, but there's too much where it's not just a little spice, you know? So, I guess it's time for a fanon ship. And really, only 2 have any sauce, Hetherald and Kreth. And while Hetherald is kind of baller, Kreth is at its absolute peak this season in a way we will never see again. Alright, now we got World Tour, and shit, it's Alaheather, isn't it? It's gonna be Alaheather.
Alright, jagoffs.
I mean, who else could it be? This is Dunkney's worst season. Gwunkin is overhated, but it's no Alaheather. Ozzy has nothing, and then they break up. Gidget is once again nothing special. Kodera is Kodera, and Cody x Heather were only included at the request of a friend. The only ships that even come close are Lilar and Beth x Pole, and it's just barely. I mean, Alaheather, their buildup is insane. Their dynamic is perfect, and their enemies to lovers? Dude, this is literally my exact cup of tea. As for the worst ship, it's just gonna be Kodera. I know it's a basic pick, but they just aren't my thing, you know? Next up is Revenge of the Island, and the worst ship was easy as hell to pick. Anne Maria x Vito is probably the best joke ship in the show. Comedic ship? I'm not really sure what to call this subgenre, let me know below. Sam Coda is really sweet, and it's cool to see an intern get shipped with an actual contestant, even if she had already competed. Hope to see something like that in the future, wink wink nudge nudge. So that just leaves Zoke, and yeah, they're not great. Mike is really boring, and whilst Zoe is not at her worst, she's still bad. As for the best ship, it comes down to these 4 fanon ones. In our first corner is a classic case of rivals to lovers between 2 of the strongest characters in Rhodey. You know them, you better love them. It's Jock. No, not Jacques, Jock. In corner number 2 is another mutant maggot Joe ship with the classic case of opposites attract. It's Joe Maria. And now we have the age-old case of rivals to friends to enemies to lovers. The 2 biggest physical threats in both Rhodey and All-Stars pre-merge, it's Low. And finally, 2 characters that may seem different on the surface, but are more similar than people give them credit for. One is ostracized for his ego, the other due to her creepy powers. They play off each other perfectly, and they have a strange amount of moments together without a sound dynamic. It's Dawning Light. I love all of these fanon ships, but it was only only ever gonna be dawning. This is the only fanon ship that I desperately want to become canon. I know that Daw and Bond shippers might come after me for this one, but I don't care. This is my channel, my time to shine, and you can't shine without the light of dawn. They just had this beautiful dynamic that barely got explored. They're both outcasts, but in very different ways. They're both great with animals, and I can see Dawn being able to help bring Lightning's more positive aspects out, while Lightning is able to help connect Dawn with people instead of just animals. If I'm ever put in charge of writing a Revenge Season 2, you know who the main ship is gonna be. Now we got All-Stars, and you're probably thinking I'm gonna pick Zoke for the worst ship again, and while it was tempting, I remembered how awful Gwunkin was this season, and that begs the question, which is worse? A ship that I didn't care about still being awful, or a ship that I kinda liked becoming awful? Ultimately, I landed on the latter. A lot of people hate on Gwunkin, and that's fair, but exclusively in World Tour, it's more about the morality of it. Personally, it's a cartoon. I don't really care about the real world implications of a character's actions, and I think that people really only use Gwunkin as an excuse to hate on Duncan and or Gwen, while not maintaining that same moral standard for other characters. Y'all know you can just not like a character. You don't have to justify it. Anyways, tangent aside, All-Stars Gwunkin fucking sucks. They lose all their chemistry, they both act out of character, and they either retcon the cheating thing or make Gwen a liar, and either is terrible. Now, the best ship would be difficult if Alaheather didn't exist. They are a shining beacon of hope in this horrible, awful dog shit season. Sure, they're basically half the ship they were on World Tour, but even a tenth of that greatness would have let them be first here. Now, Pahkitew's picks are pretty weird in both categories, because for one, we only got 2 canon ships, 3 if you include Sky X Keith, which I will not. And 2, there's no great fanon options. I mean, there's Scarlet X Amy, Topher and Sammy, and Leonard X Sugar. For the best, I guess I'll pick Scarlet and Amy, solely because Sean X Jasmine is just kind of too milk toast for my taste. And that just leaves Scave as the worst, which feels wrong, because even though I despise Dave, even I'll admit that there's a certain entertainment in their lovers to enemies dynamic. Ridonculous race is way easier. Dairy is abysmal dog shit. The entire season is spent on watching the most basic, white bread ship imaginable. I was so hyped when Devin fell down that cliff. Y'all had no clue. As for the best ship, again, pretty simple, really only came down to either the Daters or the Goths. Both are great comedically, but I ended up with the Goths since they just have more standout moments in my mind. Okay, reboot season 1. For the worst ship, I'm gonna do a cop-out and say neither. Rajbo is absolutely incredible, one of my favorite parts of the entire reboot, and Shima's a god-tier comedic powerhouse. These two ships are both amazing in their own way, but there's one fanon ship that I prefer, and it's Scary Z. I don't know what it is, but these two just feel like a match made in heaven. They're both opposites with some overlapping interests. My only real complaint is that I noticed some fan works try to domesticate Lauren through the ship, and I just think it's a lot more interesting to keep her unhinged with the exception of the one person that she fucks with. And finally, reboot season 2, and the worst ship is another hard pick, but for the wrong reason. Neither of these are that great. Rapaxel just devolves both characters into a one-note joke and doesn't allow Axel to develop at all. And Prelup just gets way too much focus. Like, this ship is a major part in every episode of the season. That's like a dairy level offense. Ultimately, I went with Prelup. It just drags on and on forever. And now we got the best ship, and it really only comes down to 2 fanon options, MK Ulya and Wayne X Intern. Both are great. I'd love to see either of them made canon in a hypothetical reboot season 3, but for reboot season 2 specifically, I gotta go with MK Ulya. Their chemistry is just incredible throughout the entire season, and I genuinely thought they were gonna get together in both MK's elimination and later in the finale. Sure, I've wanted to see an Intern X player plot since Revenge, but one great moment does it beat an entire season's worth. I'm also legally obligated to bring up Damien X Millie, and thus this picture. I hope you're happy, Pepsi. But wait, there's more. I decided to throw a bone to all the new Disventure camp fans and talk about some of my favorite ships there too. I'll be ignoring the spin-offs, betas, and fans vs favorites because I don't want to rewatch them, and fans vs favorites should only be on episode 5 when this releases. Season 1's best ship is definitely Gabelli, though I will admit Lil Nick holds a special place within my heart. The worst is definitely Will Ashley because this ship is a total nothing burger with a side of extra dog shit characters. Season 2's best ship is definitely Hunt to Sally. All I'm gonna say is that they definitely could have pulled it off if they had the balls. The worst is a lot harder because honestly, all of these are really solid. I guess I'll go with Kayak's Maggie since they got the least going on, but honestly, they're still really solid. All-Star's best ship is still Gabelli. I love the Strife, thought it was fun, but it sucks that to make up for it, there can be absolutely no drama within any lesbian ship in the franchise ever again. As for the worst, it's really a toss-up between Tom Jake and Ria X Connor. Hunt Alley barely scrapes by thanks to those final few episodes. I sure hope those aren't made weak weaker due to a mediocre spinoff. Anyways, I ended up with Rex Connor as the worst out of the two because my main issues with Tom Jake are exclusively with those last 4 letters. And finally, we got Carnival of Chaos, and quick sidebar, my video was made dated 2 days before I released it. What do you mean they're just friends who flirted? There is nothing platonic about any of this. Anyways, the worst ship is definitely Anarissa. There's no tension, no drama, no intrigue, no passion. There is one good line and 1,000 wasted return possibilities. As for the best ship, despite the abundance, there's not really a lot of good options. Oh yeah, Tringy. Guess that'll do. And those are my thoughts. What do y'all think? Are y'all insulted about me not liking Gwent? Do you think I should have considered Sky x Keith an official ship? What about Shelly x Devin? What are your favorite fanon ships? Let me know below. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hype the video. It really makes a difference. Happy Valentine's Day, and remember to stay golden. Later.